we have Dr. Upadhyay with us as well now. So shall we begin? Am I audible to you, Monaem?
Yes, I can hear you.
Or is there a lot of background noise?
Still, we feel a little behind you, but it's fine.
Little. Okay, if that's all right. Okay. Dr. Upadhyay, would you also please switch on your camera?
Yes,
I'm
it's
making
on.
you a co-host. The entire session is recorded right now.
Okay, most welcome.
Okay, to begin with, happy Holi to all our viewers right now. Welcome to live interactions with global change makers. We are here with Mr. Monaem Lellahom, who has started his journey in UAE, in Tunisia, and from Tunisia, UAE, he's gone global with all his footprints. Welcome, Monaem. He's a founder and CEO of Sustainable Square, based out of Dubai.
Thank you so much, Harsha, for having me.
Pleasure to see you, Monaem. I would also like to thank Dr. Upadhyay, Annie Vinod, Vijay Kamble, our set of other panelists. Thank you for joining in, and happy Holi to everybody. Monaem, we would like to learn more about your journey from Tunisia to UAE and now spreading Sustainable Square globally. So how has your journey been?
Well, definitely, it was a very exciting journey. Like I've started it, let's say 18 years ago, when I was to be part of a global organization called ISEC. So I kind of escalated the ladder in ISEC from being responsible for the local operation in ISEC in Tunisia, then the regional office in the Middle East, North Africa, then part of the global headquarters, managing global partnerships for the foundation or for the organization globally. And then towards the end of my experience with ISEC, which is the largest youth leadership organization, I got recruited by one of the partners of ISEC in Jordan. Actually, I've started my CSR and sustainability experience in Jordan back in 2008. Joined an organization called Schema, where the CEO, her name is Maali Qasim, she truly believed in my potential, and she was like, Monaem, would you like to join my organization? I was like, I'm going to join you to do what? She said, you're going to do CSR and sustainability. I was like, that's a Chinese to me. I had no idea what is CSR and sustainability. But long story short, so I joined the organization as an intern, and in 3 years I've become the interim CEO of the organization. So I was really, built expertise in the field of CSR and sustainability, revamped our products, helped a lot of organizations in the Middle East, private sector and foundations and governments to integrate sustainability and to ensure a sustainable transition towards a green economy or responsible business practices. After 3 years, I reconnected with my best friend Eric Hansel. And then we were discussing the state of sustainability and responsible practices and CSR in the Middle East. And in end of 2011, we said, I think we can play a role, both of us being young, being energetic, being dynamic. And then we thought that we can make a difference, if we create a platform where we can push the practice and innovate as much as possible. And in 2012, we've decided to move to Dubai and then set up an organization we named Sustainable Square. It's not a shape of square, but a square as a meeting point, as a reference point, as a connecting point. We really wanted to connect all the practitioners and the experts in the market towards in a platform where they can innovate and revolutionize the practice of CSR and sustainability. And that's how we started. 2 little boys trying to make a difference, but we have really big ambitious, to really take the brand globally. Long story short, Sustainable Square in 9 years of operation exists in 5 countries. So we have operation in the Middle East with an office in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. We have an operation in East Africa with an office in Nairobi in Kenya. We have an office in West Africa with an office in Accra in Ghana. And we've been in India for about 8 years. We've been in India for about 4 years. We've established an operation in Bombay. And then now we are expanding our operation to Far East Asia with an office in Thailand.
Excellent. Now, in your journey, there have been many countries who have mandated CSR. India is one of the countries who has mandated CSR and came up with CSR laws. What are the laws in UAE and what is your take?
Harsha, I think you're muted.
What are the laws in UAE and what is your take on them?
I think the regulation in the UAE has evolved rapidly during the last 3 to 4 years. I think things started with the establishment of the Dubai Declaration for Sustainable Finance, and this is a declaration where the regulator encouraged the financial institutions, banks, and investment companies and insurance companies to start embedding CSR and sustainability within their core business and start the reporting practice, based on specific metrics. So that's how things started, and we've seen a lot of growth in the adoption of this Dubai Declaration for Sustainable Finance. I think more than 15 banks in the UAE, they have signed this declaration. After that, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid has issued the decree to establish CSR UAE. You can go to the website csruae.ae, which is an umbrella to govern and to develop the regulation behind CSR and sustainability in the country. And there are other local government agencies in specific emirates that have really pushed the regulation behind CSR and sustainability and have put policies and frameworks for companies to start, embedding CSR and contributing to the development of the community. And the latest update in the regulation, which is by the SCA, which is the Security and Commodities Authority, which governs both stock markets, the Dubai stock market and the Abu Dhabi stock market, they have mandated sustainability reporting for listed companies in both stock markets, which means like all the listed companies, they have a deadline from now until June 30th to produce annual sustainability reports based on the global GRI framework. And they have developed indexes, ESG indexes, environmental, social, and governance indexes, for them to align with these indexes and to produce reports based on these indexes by June 30th. Harsha, I think you're not audible.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, Harsha, we can hear you.
You mentioned about sustainability. Now you have developed strength in ESG and impact investing. Why do you think it is important in current times and initiatives that are being taken by your company and under your AGs?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but I would try. I think you're referring to why do we need to focus on impact investing and responsible investment today, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Let me just give you like
Yes,
a
that's exactly what I'm asking. Why you've developed your strength in ESG and impact investing? Why do you think it is important in the current times, and what are the initiatives that you all have?
If I go back like 6 years ago, I think globally as a humanity, we have failed miserably to achieve the MDGs, the millennial goals. And we have failed to achieve them, I think, because we have taken them from a support perspective and not from investment perspective. And I can elaborate further. The call was like there was a call from the UN to push all the private sector and government and foundations to support the MDGs. By supporting, the support might extend to philanthropic activities and charity and donations. But we all know that philanthropy and charity and donation does not create value. So when we have created the new SDGs or the new framework for the 17 goals, it was estimated that we need $3 to $5 trillion in yearly base to achieve the SDGs by 2030. And the objective of the SDGs is to not leave anyone left behind by 2030. And 4 years ago, I was like, how much money do we need in a yearly base in order to achieve the SDGs? And in order to accumulate a sum of $3 to $5 trillion in the emerging markets or developing world to achieve the SDGs by 2030. And what I did, me and my team, we have downloaded all the financial reports for the top 20 to 50 companies around the world. All right. It was a simple calculation. So we downloaded all the financial statements and we said, let's assume that top 20 companies from each industry are applying the India CSR law. 2% of net profit has to be given to CSR. It's just an assumption. Do you know how much money we've accumulated? We've accumulated $50 billion. While we need $3 to $5 trillion to achieve the SDGs, which means donation and CSR and philanthropy only cannot accelerate the uptake of the SDGs because the gap is huge. We need $3 to $5 trillion and we have only $50 billion in yearly base if we follow the path of CSR and philanthropy and donations, which means we have to shift the thinking from supporting the SDGs towards investing in the SDGs. Because when you invest into something, you expect a return on investment. And that's the only way you can accelerate the uptake of the SDGs. And this is why when the UN proposed the SDGs, they said the SDGs are $12 trillion of business opportunities. So we don't want you to support the SDGs. We want you to invest in the SDGs. And by investing, we are creating the concept of impact investing or responsible investment. That's the call. So in order for us to achieve the SDGs by 2030 or to do not leave anyone left behind, we need to shift towards impact investing. And that's the only way that could help us to achieve the SDGs by 2030.
Very good.
Excellent. Now, along the journey, what would you mean by sustainability indices and what should be the steps to achieve the same? Like you all are taking a step of impact investing. What should be the step to achieve sustainability indices?
Well, if I may just start by the definition of sustainability indices or ESG indices. These are like a performance framework created by regulators, in order to engage, the private sector towards one direction. So, for example, if the stock market wants all companies, to report on the same KPIs, they create an index for them. Right. So it's an easy way to kind of create a common framework, a common reporting framework for companies in order to divert them towards one direction of disclosure. And that's what, for example, Dubai stock market or Abu Dhabi stock market, they have created. They create ESG indices or sustainability indices comprised of a set of indicators. These indicators are inspired by the Global Reporting Initiative or they're inspired by their country, the country focus or the SDGs. They're aligned with all these beautiful frameworks in order to create a common reporting system that could help us to assess the performance of the private sector in the stock market.
Okay. So How is the situation in Dubai? Is Dubai very aggressive on sustainability indices, or do you see other countries? Which country is the most advanced according to you in this space?
Um, I mean, like 3 years ago, when we have created the MENA sustainability research, I think it was by far the UAE has really ranked #1 when it comes to adopting sustainability and then pushing for sustainability reporting. In the Arab world, I think we have about like 350 reports produced since 2010. 70% of the reports have been produced in the UAE, and then you find, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, they come respectively. So, but knowing the climate or the ecosystem in the region, all the stock markets in the GCC countries, they have sustainability indexes. When it comes, for example, to Saudi Arabia, Tadawul, which is a stock market, has been indexed by MSCI. And when MSCI indexes the stock market, they come with all the wealth of ESG and sustainability metrics, and then they push the private sector towards, adoption of these practices. I think the UAE is the first country in the GCC that has mandated sustainability reporting or ESG reporting for the private sector, for the listed companies. And then we're going to be hearing, the other stock markets, coming with the mandate, sooner or later. They all have an ESG index in place, and they all have started, raising awareness within the private sector to start disclosing on the sustainability and then ESG reports, publishing ESG reports, and they're gonna and the regulation of mandate, will come anytime soon in all the stock markets.
That's extremely encouraging for all of us across the world. Now, you have also founded Thrive Arabia, which touches on the requirement of training in responsible business leadership. Now, IICSR is also a dedicated training, research, and development institution. In the same, what courses do you see the upcoming business leaders should learn and the existing workforce in the space of responsible business leadership?
Oh, I truly believe that we have to go beyond the classic, trainings that we are delivering to employees today. I think, employees, they get onboarded with the menu, of trainings. You're gonna go through a technical training connected to your job, and then you barely gonna have like few trainings here and there. But then nobody's teaching sustainability. Nobody is empowering employees. Nobody is talking about how can you be responsible employee? How can you adopt ethical practices within the private sector? I think there is a gap, to empower employees within the private sector to connect with all these global frameworks and global ambitions, in order to extend their brains, to think beyond their job, beyond their limitation, and then energize that creative grain, into them, so they can be much more productive, within their job, and create solutions that could solve specific problems for the business and the community at the same time.
That's pretty informative. Now, post COVID-19 and even during COVID-19, which initiatives do you think are important to shape the better future, not only in UAE, but across the globe?
I think COVID-19 was a wake-up call for all the private sector globally. I think we have clearly understood, or the private sector has clearly understood, that we can't only focus on financials, and financials only cannot create stability for the business on the long run. I think the pertinence or the importance of the non-financial aspects within organizations have raised, dramatically post-COVID. But then COVID alone cannot be the only, major risk for businesses today. If you look at the SDGs, there are 17 goals. I call them 17 pandemics. I approach the SDGs as 17 pandemics. Climate change is a pandemic. Diversity is equal pay, equality, within the community, within the workplace is a pandemic. Life on Earth is a pandemic. Life under the sea is a pandemic. Justice and peace is a pandemic. There's so many pandemics, around us. I think COVID is one of the pandemics that we have to look for. Of course, employees' well-being and community health is very important for the business sustainability on the long run. But then, how can we think and create equal interest, equal pressure, put equal pressure to advance our performance on other risks that are surrounding the business and surrounding our lives today. If we look beyond COVID and we look beyond financials, I think we're going to discover so many risks that are really, affecting our businesses and affecting our lives in a very direct manner.
I totally agree with you. COVID-19 is not the only pandemic. There are so many others also that are thriving. Now, how do you see the space developing in the coming decade?
I'm sure I got your. I'm not sure I got your question, Harsha.
How do you see the space of CSR, sustainability, impact investment developing in the coming decade?
I always approach this question with an anecdote, because 10 years ago, when I used to pitch CSR and sustainability to companies, I used to speak Chinese. I think they barely understand the value of things. Today, I barely put any effort in order to convince them with the importance of CSR and sustainability, which means that all the business leaders and the top management and the private sector has clearly understood that CSR and sustainability are not a side dish anymore. They're pretty much integrated into the main business mainstream of businesses today, and they're an important essential factors that can contribute to the long-term sustainability and stability of businesses. Today, top managements, investors, board of directors, they did realize with the importance and the financial implication of overlooking these non-financial aspects or non-financial risks like ESG. Investors today are saying if a business is making money, doesn't mean the company is healthy. If a business is highly profitable, doesn't mean that it's a good business investment opportunity. So we have to assess the non-financial performance of businesses, and non-financial performances are ESG performances or CSR and sustainability performances in order to take a decision to invest in such a business. So I think it's gaining momentum. It's not a side dish anymore. It's not something luxury that we can have, to increase our reputation, but it's a mainstream activity within businesses today. And then a lot of investment is going towards that end.
I highly appreciate your take on this. On this note, may I request my colleague, Dr. Upadhyay, to come in and ask his set of questions. And please let us know in case there are other questions too.
Thank you, Harsha. I think you are the right person with law in India. I have always been wondering, is it really in line with ESG? Are we really following ESG, or it's becoming more of a compliance? And for a company, a list of tick marks. Okay, I have done this, I have done this, I have done this. So I think you are the right person to know from you, are we really in line with ESG? Or as per more and more legislation, as you saw the one which we had in Jan, are we becoming more a compliance regime in India?
It's true. I think although Indian companies have kind of matured when it comes to responsible practices, during since the inauguration of the law, and they definitely have embedded certain systems, within their operation in order to comply with the law. Nevertheless, being in touch with a lot of Indian companies, we are still in the early adoption of the law, or if we are really taking serious steps towards embedding the law and complying with the law, we are still in the philanthropic, donation, charitable a phase. We haven't really looked at CSR from an investment perspective. We haven't really looked at value creation and how can we align between the business opportunities and the community at the same time. How can we look at the SDGs as investment opportunities but not charitable giving opportunities? You know what I mean? We have conducted some social return on investment or impact measurement studies in India, and then we have seen how some of the donations, or many of the donations, they don't really create value. They just, create short-term value for the beneficiaries, but they're not really radically changing their lives and creating value to their lives. So they don't really keep depending on that money going to them. So I think the law itself has to evolve. We have to look at a different way on how we can repackage it, so we can add more value for the community and then transform the way it is being given to the beneficiaries today. Because so far, a lot of charity and philanthropic money is going to communities, but this charity and philanthropic money is not really creating value for the community and transforming the lives of people. I do understand that for example, some of the WASH programs in India can transform the life of people, but then is that what we need? Of course, we need that as fundamentals and basic needs in life. But then, how can we be more creative and adopt crazier ideas, to transform the lives of people from an investment perspective and create value for them, so we can accelerate the speed of development and sustainable development in the communities in India?
That brings to me to another question. What I see with a lot of these programs, what we are doing, it's more, people are more talking about output, and they always confuse output
and outcome,
and hardly there's any impact. Though we are talking about now, if your project is more than 1 crore, you have to get impact study done and done. But I don't understand a lot of it. You are really talking about impact, or you are talking about an outcome basically at the maximum? So I always find that confusion. How do you react to that?
I call it showing muscles, exactly. It's literally showing muscles, because if a company tells me that I have educated 10,000 women in Gujarat, right? It doesn't mean that the 10,000 women have benefited from the training. You're just showing me a number, right? It's like a ticking box, But then when you take a step further and you engage with these 10,000 women and you interview them and you try to understand what has been their life before the training and what is the impact after the training, and you take your assessment towards an outcome-based assessment, then you are capturing the real value of the program. If you stop at the level of 10,000 women, delivered workshops for 10,000 women, they may not have benefited from the training. Maybe they didn't enjoy the training. Maybe it wasn't relevant to them. And then you are bragging about yourself, bragging about your program that you've educated 10,000 women. But that is as a level of output, as you've mentioned clearly, Doctor. But it's not an outcome impact. It does not really reflect the impact and the change created on the ground.
I find a lot of difference, like say Nestle. When Nestle talks about shared value, we started with shared value. I was part of this CSR journey in India. When we start, if you see 10-year-old documents and all, even Department of Public Enterprises document, we used to talk about shared value. We used to talk about GRI. Now somewhere we have lost this. And now again, we are talking about combining an integrated reporting. So are we getting more confused here? Or are we really solving some of the problems? I find we are getting more confused.
I think the international community is getting confused with this. Okay, here is let's say the foundation of things, right? There are specific stakeholders to any businesses, and these specific stakeholders or a pool of stakeholders that are expecting certain information to reach them, right? They expect the business to disclose on a specific information. If I am an employee, I expect my business or my employer to tell me 1, 2, 3. If I'm a regulator, I expect the business to comply or to disclose to me certain information. If I'm the community, I expect the business to disclose on 1, 2, 3 information, right? So that's why we created these sustainability indices, or the GRI framework, or the SASPs framework, or the United Nations 10 principles, because we all wanted to unify and create a set of indicators that could answer all these disclosure requirements. Now companies in the stock market, for example, it was the first thing that was mandated for them is to produce financial reports. Then they started asking them to produce governance reports. Then they said, okay, can you please add an annual report? And 10 years ago or 15 years ago, can you please tell us how have you contributed to the community?
Yes.
And then now, like 5 years or 6 years ago, they started asking them about sustainability report. There's so many reports to be produced, and they're all being shelved. So that's why the new initiative globally is how can we integrate all these informations together in one book that is called an integrated reporting to bring an integrated thinking behind the disclosure practices. So anything that is that the company does has a repercussion on financial and reputation and risk, right? So it could be approached with an integrated thinking approach, and it could be disclosed in an integrated report. And that's why the new initiative for integrated reporting has been inaugurated globally, which is to bring together all these frameworks towards one disclosure framework that is called integrated reporting based on 6 capitals. So for example, environmental impact is an environmental capital today because environment has clearly showed that it has a financial repercussion, right? Talent management as described in sustainability report could be described in the integrated report as human capital because your development of your human and employees has a financial repercussion. You know, all your innovation and creativity in sustainability report could be labeled as intellectual capital because your intellectual property has a value, right? So that's why we created globally, we created this framework called integrated reporting to really integrate between financials and non-financials to create together in one integrated document. But not everyone is thinking about that clearly, and then the adoption of integrated reporting globally hasn't really picked up. The only country that has really mastered integrated reporting is South Africa, because they have mandated it since 2010. So they've been doing integrated reporting under the stock market for 11 years now. So they really mastered doing it. So if you want to look at the best integrated reporting around the world, go look at South Africa. They have really good integrated reports based on the 6 capitals framework. But in India, yes, it's still slow because the mandate is not really clear with regards to that.
Very nice. Last question to you. What I find, like, suppose as a company, I come to you.
Come
What
again, please?
if as a company,
Yeah.
I come to you for your help, like from your company, I want help that how do I organize reporting in my company? What will you advise me? What will be step 1, 2, 3?
I think the step 1 is to start with a gap analysis, right? To understand what policies do you have in place, what information that is ready that could be disclosed to the public. The second step is to go through what we call stakeholder engagement and materiality exercise, which is reaching out to every stakeholder group and try to understand what is material to them, what are the key topics that this stakeholder group they care about or they want to hear about the organization. And I develop what we call the Materiality Matrix, which is a set of aspects that are ranked based on their priority to the business and to the stakeholders at the same time. That's the second step. The third step is to align the material issues with the GRI indicators or whatever framework that you want to use for your reporting practice. And then to create a set of indices or KPIs, and you start sourcing the data from the heads of departments in order for you to disclose on them. And then you create the narratives and the qualitative information analysis behind the data. And then you go through the design and the layouts and you check it whether through GRI or through UNGC or through SASP. So that's the compliance with one of the specific frameworks. The process is tedious the first time. It could be like a very hectic process, especially for first-time reporters, because you would have to you are adding an extra layer of reporting for each head of department, and you know how busy they are. So if you come to them with a new set of indicators that they haven't tracked before, they will tell you, okay, why do we need to do this? So you have to put some efforts into explaining to them the importance of disclosing on these particular indicators, and you put the framework for reporting, you put the mechanism for reporting, and you start sourcing that data and putting it into your sustainability reports.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Over to you, Harsha.
On this note, may I also request Miss Annie Vinod, she has a question. Annie, could you please switch on your camera and ask your question?
Hi Harsha, hi Monaem. Unfortunately, I can't switch on the camera due to poor network connection, but this is my question. Given there's so much gray area in terms of how terms related to impact investing are defined, is there like an authority or a handbook which can sort of clarify the whole process? Because this seems to be a very confusing avenue going forward in terms of ambiguity regarding the terms of impact investing.
I mean, there are so many global initiatives. First, thank you so much for the question. There are so many global initiatives for explaining the true definition of impact investing. But then I myself, try to understand things, in a very basic manner. If you create a business model that adds value to the community and has a return on investment, financial return on investment, that's impact investing. It cannot be more difficult than that, and we don't need to follow certain framework to understand that I need to create an idea or come up with an idea that has a financial profitability and has an impact, be it social, environmental, or tackles one of the SDGs. So what we tend to complicate the issue, but it's not complicated at all, right? It's about creating value for businesses and the community at the same time. So if you feel at a certain point that your idea is not really profitable, then that's pure philanthropy or CSR program. If you feel that you are not driving an impact through your business idea, then that's a pure commercial idea, but it cannot be called a social enterprise or an impact investing scheme. You know what I mean? So when you create like a shared value with that idea between the business and the community at the same time, then you can confidently say that, okay, this is the true impact investing. I'm generating money and driving an impact at the same time.
Okay. Thank you for that, ma'am. If I could quickly add another question. So where do you think a social stock exchange can add value to sort of organizing the entire structure when it comes to social enterprises?
The issue of social entrepreneurs, they are still kind of unclear about how they raise their funds. They're still unclear about how can we build a capital around our business models and really convince investors and impact investors to really fund our business opportunities. When we create a social stock market, or we create a stock market that tackles only social enterprises, that first, it creates a buzz. All the investors will be questioning, will be asking questions. What is this? How can we get benefit from it? If the government has created the stock market for it, means we can generate money out of it. So it will create a good reputation around the issue itself. That's number one. Number two, it will push the investors to start connecting with all these business opportunities and then digging further to try to find the spot or the sweet spot where they can put their money and then get a return on investment. Three, it will encourage the social enterprises to develop their business model further and clearly be able to demonstrate financial value and non-financial value at the same time. So these are all the benefits of a stock market that lists social enterprises and impact investment.
Thank you so much, Monaem. That's all from my end. Thank you.
Monaem, any final message for all our viewers? I think so. Mr. Vijay Kamble also has a question. Vijay, would you want to come forth and ask your question? We are running short of time.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
This is a Vijay Kamble here, and I have very specific. I'm wondering to understand that some specific question. 1 minute. That what kind of the specific issues or activities CSR program is being running on, especially for the women empowerment of other countries. This is my specific question. And second question is the what kind of the business models is being the promoted under the CSR program, which you have seen. Can you explain this, sir?
Vijay, I'm not sure I understand the first question, but then answering the second question, basically any CSR program that has a business model in it could be called a social enterprise. You know, if it's a program alone, then it is backed up by an institution or a foundation or a CSR department or anything. But then when we venture it out and we create a model for it and business model for it, that by which it can ensure that the social entrepreneur is generating money, and then he has a plan how to sustain that idea or sustain the project, and he's driving an impact at the same time, then that's social enterprise and that's social business. But I'm not sure I understand the first question.
The first question that what happened in India, we have seen that various interventions under CSR, but I was wondering to understand the what kind of the program is being running in other countries, which especially for the woman empowerment, because the some of the countries quite developed country. Now, what is the issues, especially of women's, and that issue inculcated with the CSR program?
Okay, I will try to answer the question. I think there's so many entities that have adopted the issue of women empowerment as part of their CSR programs. The only issue that this is my only view to the issue that whenever we talk about women empowerment, as if the woman is not empowered enough. But when we talk about equal empowerment between men and women, I think we will find fundamental solutions for the program. But tackling the issue of women empowerment only as if we're disregarding men empowerment as well, but men needs a lot of empowerment as equal to the kind of empowerment that we need to bring to women, we can create better solution for the issue itself. Equality is the solution here. But then going for single gender empowerment is not gonna solve the issue. I see a lot of CSR departments here, creating these kind of programs towards women empowerment, and then I keep telling them, how about we focus on equality? And then when we focus on equality, we create better value for the beneficiaries, primarily for the woman itself. Because when the woman sees the man empowered next to her, and she will have like 10 times the energy to get empowered, rather than a program that is focusing on empowering the woman only.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you for the answer. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monaem. Any final message for all our viewers?
Can you give final message to our viewers?
Oh, sorry. If I may, first, thank you so much for having me here. My final note will be that CSR and sustainability is the future. It is the current issue and the future for sure. It's not a side dish anymore. It's not a luxury thing to do anymore. It's an essential practice that has been embedded in every business today. I know the ecosystem in India, and I know the importance of foundations in India and the importance of NGOs in India and the kind of work that they do in order to alleviate poverty, eradicate poverty, and then embed sustainable development in the Indian community. But then one of the messages that I always been vocal about it, that I've always believed that foundations and NGOs will die one day, because if they don't have a business model behind them that can ensure that they create better value, 10 times the value they're creating now, they're gonna suffer big time. Look at the NGOs around you, look at the foundations, they're all bleeding for money, they're all bleeding for fundraising, right? And that's because they haven't created a business model or a social business model that can attract investors, attract CSR funds, and attract social capitalists, to add fund to them and then to pump them with money that could help create better value for the community. So my call for the foundations and the NGOs in India is to try to reimagine the kind of programs that they are building and shift them towards impact investing and social enterprises, so they can accelerate the uptake of the SDGs and the development pace. And then eventually we can create better value for the beneficiaries. That's my final call, and I hope I added value during these 30 minutes call with you guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Monaem, and everybody. Now I'll switch on my camera. It's a holy day today. I'm full with colors. The during the meeting, I did not switch it on. So now, happy Holi.
Happy Holi.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Happy Holi, Monaem.
Thank you. Happy Holi. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Holi to everybody watching us. Thank you for being with us and joining us. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.